What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here on a daily basis. So yeah, it's just Senator Joe Manchin, this guy. He may have flip-flopped yet again. Yeah, I let you guys know here in the last video or two that yeah, reports had come out that he didn't he didn't accept, or he wasn't going to go for the parts of the next package that for climate and raising taxes on the wealthy and corporations. Not the whole package, which we're not even sure what that is, because a lot of this is being done behind the scenes. And they need Joe Manchin's vote. The Democrats need Joe Manchin's vote to pass this next stimulus package, or spending package, or whatever you want to call it, right? And I mean, the last package they passed like this was basically a stimulus package. It included the $1,400 stimulus checks, the child tax credit checks that were $3,000 to $3,600 per child. It also included rental assistance, mortgage assistance, utility assistance, $350 billion for states that are now sending out stimulus checks as well. A lot of these stimulus checks that are going out now, over 20 states are using that money. Okay, so there's actually been multiple different kind of rounds of stimulus checks that have come from that last stimulus package, and some of them are going out right now. If you've seen my recent video of I'll link you to it here at the end of this video. There's over 20 states that are sending out stimulus checks. Some are going out right now. Some are going out here in the next few weeks. Some just recently went out. Some states are sending out multiple rounds, kind of like, some have gone out recently, and some states are considering even more here. So there's really a lot going on here. But Joe Manchin, is a very crucial vote here because this guy, he changes his votes, like the Katy Perry song. He changes his mind, like like a woman changes clothes, which is, not my saying, but Katy Perry's saying, the famous singer she's also a judge on American Idol. But it's kind of true. Kind of true. He's a Democrat, or a dino, a Democrat in name only. Go. That's a kind of play from the word rhino, Republican name in name only. I think he's the only dino out there. Maybe Kirsten Cinema is the one of the other ones out there. But Joe Manchin has now said, "Well, I don't know about that." This information had come out that he wasn't going to be willing to vote for the climate change portion of the bill, and the taxing portion of the bill to tax companies like Amazon, who pay little to no tax on billions and billions of dollars. A lot of people don't think that's quite fair. And remember, Amazon actually went several years where there was a year where they made over $11 billion and paid zero tax, zero in federal tax, but still, it's just imagine making $11 billion and paying $0 in federal tax. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, right? He doesn't think that we should raise taxes on corporations like that. I know. It's just like, what? All right. You let me know your thoughts here in the comments. But Joe Manchin's maybe going back, changing his mind already. Here's what he has to say. Yeah, Senator Joe Manchin is now denying he opposes the Democratic spending bill, saying, well, he just needs to wait a little bit till August, which is, only a few days away here at this point. He pushed back here just a few hours ago at this point, just on yesterday. Yeah, he pushed back on reports that he had ruled out including tax hikes, which is the main way to pay for this bill. He wants the bill to be paid for, right? He doesn't want to just add it on to the deficit. Remember, the government just paid off $1.7 trillion of the deficit that actually happened, and climate change subsidies to help climate change within the Democrats' party line spending bill, this next package, saying that he would wait until July inflation numbers are out and the next month to decide. Manchin told West Virginia Metro News that he claims he had walked away from the negotiation tables were widely overblown. That's totally overblown, he says. The centrist Democrat claimed to only have expressed caution about moving forward with the package before having a clear picture of inflation and the national economy. So he doesn't quite have a clear picture yet. He said, I said we could just wait until the inflation figures come out for July, until we know if the Federal Reserve will hike interest rates, which we know they're going to do. We know they're going to hike interest rates. We just don't quite know how much. Is it going to be 50 basis points, 75 basis points, 100 basis points, which would be a full 1%, basically. 50 basis points would be half a percent. He says, quote, then we can make the decision on what we can do and how much we can do, says Joe Manchin. Manchin said that Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer took that request as an indication that he would not support raising taxes or tackling climate change. He further claimed that leaks to the media saying as much were an attempt to pressure him into capitulating. I guess that they're just trying to put pressure on me. But they've been doing that for a year now. It doesn't make any sense at all. So I guess if you actually look here, he didn't actually say no, apparently. Yeah, you got to read between the lines here, but I guess he's saying that he didn't, Joe Manchin here, right? He's not saying no to raising taxes on corporations and wealthy individuals or tackling climate change. Manchin did say that if Senate Democrats were on a deadline and wanted to pass the bill by the end of July, they would settle for less. They would have to settle for less. Quote, if you're on a political deadline, the one thing you can get done is to write a piece of legislation on reducing prescription drug pricing, which would be a lot, be for over 100 million Americans, and letting Medicare negotiate those prices for the whole country. It's not just for Medicare. Medicare would be the organization that would do the negotiating. That would save the government over $288 billion over 10 years. It would also save people that aren't on Medicare money as well. It would save people on Medicare money. It would save everybody money. They could also take $40 billion of that and extend the Affordable Care Act. There's going to be a deadline that's coming up that is going to cost a lot of Americans money here as well if they don't take action on that. And they could also take the other $240 billion and put it towards debt reduction as well. I don't really know if they need to do that. I mean, as you can see here from Bloomberg, it was just reported here just a few days ago that the U.S. budget gap, the U.S. national deficit, the U.S. national debt, was just reduced by a total of $1.7 trillion here since October. So they have been reducing the national deficit month by month here. Yeah, by $515 billion from October to June. They've been reducing this every single month here as we've kind of been getting periodic updates here. So I don't know. They've already reduced the national debt by $1.7 trillion. The reason for this is because more and more people have gone back to work. Okay, so the U.S. government, the IRS, has taken in way more money than normal, or than they did, say, a year ago. Okay, because unemployment has gone way down. Okay, and this is the reason states are taking in way more money as well. Whatever state you live in, they're taking in more money. Okay, If you've been watching my show, and as we're going through different states here, and different states are issuing different stimulus checks based on if the state decides to, what they're doing with their surplus money, what they're doing with their stimulus money. As we get closer to election, each state's has different decisions to make. They have to pass it through their state legislature. Then the governor has to sign it. Um, States are bringing in surplus money as well, and they have their stimulus money. Okay, so they kind of have double surplus, double stimulus. Okay. Well, states have record amounts of surplus coming in as well because states have ultra low unemployment. So they're bringing in extra surplus from state IRS tax revenue, state sales tax, and other state taxes as well. Um, so there's all sorts of different kind of taxes, property tax, all sorts of things here. So states are, if you look at, if you guys been watching my show here, whenever we kind of go through the different states here, they're all, every single one that I've seen has says historic budget surplus, we're bringing in more money than ever. I haven't seen a single state yet that hasn't been saying things like that. So, and the federal government is basically just all 50 states, because when you pay taxes, you pay federal and you pay state if your state has taxes. Generally, if you don't have a state tax, there's some states that have no state tax. Generally, they have taxes in other ways where they kind of make up for it. Generally, they have a higher sales taxes or different type of other taxes that generally kind of make up for it. Not all the time, but generally that's kind of the case. But yeah, so the Democrats could still, and remember President Biden said the Democrats can try to pass a package or two before, again, based on what Joe Manchin is, he's such a kind of thorn in the side of Democrats and maybe the country of helping out with inflation, helping out with maybe more support for people that need it right now, because they could use some of this money to get out inflation relief checks like states are doing, another round of stimulus checks, maybe targeted for people that need it. Remember, they just paid down $1.7 trillion of deficit, of the budget, of the national deficit. Okay. The last stimulus check, the $1,400, the largest one yet, that cost only $400 billion. They just paid down $1.7 trillion of debt. Okay. That's worth 4 stimulus checks. Okay. So do they really need to take money out of this package to do that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay. They're already paying down debt. They don't need to take money out of this package to do that. Absolutely not. I mean, you let me know your thoughts here. And remember that I firmly believe, and I think a lot of people would tell you this, if you really kind of understand the mechanics of this, inflation is not tied to national debt. Joe Manchin seems to believe this for some reason, but it's not. But it's for example, they've paid down $1.7 trillion in national debt. Has inflation gone down? No, it hasn't. Okay. Because they're not directly tied to it. Okay. You have to pay interest on the debt. So in that case, the government has to pay. But that's not really what we're talking about here. Um, the simple quick short form of it is that back in 1990 we had about $3 or $4 trillion of national debt. Now it's somewhere around 30 trillion. Okay, it's hard to get the exact number because it fluctuates so quickly. Okay. um, and remember, the last time we had really high inflation was back in like 1981 when I was born. I'm 41 years old. Okay. We know this because we're hitting record high inflation right now, 41 years old. And it goes back to 1981. Okay. But if you were around back then, and I get a lot of comments of people saying, I remember 1981, that inflation was terrible. It was crazy. Well, we all know that that didn't last forever. It lasted a couple years. History tells us that. We can go back and look at the statistics, okay? Even though I was, only 1 years old or just being born, we know it only lasted for a few years, okay? This is kind of how inflation goes. It lasts, when you have really bad inflation, it tends to last for a couple years at most, and then it goes back down. When you have high inflation, it goes for a couple years and then comes back down at generally at the worst. I mean, sometimes it's worse, sometimes it's not worse. I mean, you kind of get the idea here, right? But generally from 1990 to up until here recently, we didn't have bad inflation. We had some ups and downs. We had a little bit here and there, right? But generally we had low inflation, right? We had record low mortgage rates. I mean, just up until now, mortgage rates were at the lowest they've ever been. We had mortgage rates in the 2% range and stuff, right? It was a great time to have mortgage. It's still not that bad. It's still better than what we had at the end of the 70s and 80s, right? When it was 12, 13, 14%, right? But generally, we went from, okay, so again, we had from 1990 to now, we had low inflation for the most part. Everybody will kind of agree with that. But our national debt went from 3 or 4 trillion to 30 trillion. So that's how you know that inflation and the national debt are not really correlated. This is what most people don't understand. That's what you got to remember. Now, the problem is when you try to tell this to somebody who has political beliefs and says, "Oh, the national debt, it's causing inflation." They just won't get it. They just A lot of people are stuck up in their political beliefs, and whether they're Republican or Democrat, it is what it is. And I don't know. A lot of Republicans right now are blaming it on Biden with the national debt. Biden just in the last year paid off 1.7 in national debt. But guess what? That's not helping inflation. And Trump actually added $8 trillion in national deficit, whatever you want to call it, in 4 years. He added the most of any president in 4 years ever. But again, it doesn't really affect the inflation. That's why people aren't really blaming him for inflation, really. I mean, some people do, but that's why we didn't really see it then. The reason we're seeing it now is because we're seeing it everywhere in the world. It's just it's a tough time for everybody right now across the world. It's just ridiculous. And now there's actually a chance to give people some help right now with this next package. They could help a lot of people put this money to use, like all these states are doing. Look at all these states that are actually, in fact, we just had a $2,000 stimulus check going out to um, seniors and veterans here for some people that I just covered in a previous video, and from I can't even remember what state it was. Those are the type of things that help that temporarily can help out people dramatically. And when we look at all these states, Maine sending out $1,700 stimulus checks to married couples. Alaska sending out $3,200 stimulus checks to per person. If you're a married couple, you're getting $6,400 there. I mean, that's amazing, right? And now California is going to send out $1,050. And we look at all these different checks that are going out here. And really, we got a lot of states that are sending out child tax credits as well. I think there's at least like 8. I'm just guessing off the top of my head, but I think I remember like 8 states that are also sending out their own child tax credits in addition to the federal child tax credits. So remember that the federal child tax credit is actually still in place for this year if they don't pass it. A lot of people don't realize that it's going to be 2,000. It's going to be 2,000 instead of the 3,000 to 3,600. But It's definitely not as good. So first of all, we've gone from 3,000 to 3,600 down to 2,000 per child. So that's $1,000 to $1,600 less. So that's a whole stimulus check per child less or more. Okay. So that's a lot less. There's no monthly payments. It's always better to get it in monthly payments because people don't have to budget it. It's just proven statistics that if you give somebody $2,000, or in this case, 3,000 to $3,600, if you give it to them right away, it's just gone. It's gone in a few weeks. It's just gone. Where if you give them $300 a month every month to pay for food, or to pay for part of your rent, it's just gonna last. It's gonna last because you're only getting it. You're getting a little bit every month. It just it's there. If you give someone $2,000 or $3,000, they're gonna spend it on an iPhone or something that they it's burning a hole in their pocket. You know the saying, right? The other problem with the 2000, the child tax credits, if we go back to the old way, if they can't pass it in this next package, or maybe even after the election, depending on what happens with the election, is you're going to have to file taxes. So remember, you're going to have to file taxes anyways for the last way, actually. So it is actually kind of both ways, because with the old way, the 3,000, 3,600, you have to file taxes to get the half of it because the monthly checks only went out for half the year. To get the other half, you have to file taxes. The IRS says there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people or millions of people, depending on how it works out. We'll have to see if they ever release statistics of people that don't get the rest of the money because they didn't file taxes. That's why whenever I'm talking about it, I like to remind people, file your taxes because I don't want to see you miss out on $1,500 to $1,800 per person or per child because you didn't file taxes. Even if you're not required to file taxes, even if you don't make enough money to file taxes, for last year, you can make $0 and still get that money for per child. You don't have to make a dollar. Now, if it goes back to the old way, the 2000, uh, I don't know the rules on that. I'll have to look into that. I don't know the rules on that. We'll have to see here. But you will have to file tax returns to get the 2000. So yeah. So yeah, I'm just trying to help out as many people as I can with as many things as I can on everything. Child tax credits, raises for seniors on Social Security, stimulus checks, money coming from states, which there's a lot of. I'll link you to my most recent video here with over 20 states sending out stimulus checks, property tax money, um, tax relief, inflation relief, whatever you want to call it. There's going to be more here. There's going to be more here as well. And everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here on a daily basis. So make sure to subscribe down below to our YouTube channel. If you haven't yet, it's completely free to do so. Also, you can click the share button down below. Share this video with any of your friends or family. You could share the channel with your friends or family so that they can watch and subscribe to our channel as well. It's completely free to do so. Click the bell icon down below so you get notifications when we go live here with our videos here as well. You can click here to see two major bills that were just passed by the House of Representatives. And here is my video with the stimulus checks that are going out in 20 different states. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.